Let go of something somewhere. Use yoga to become aware, to touch what lies beneath the surface of the skin. Is there tension, longing for release? A knot of fear so deep and familiar that you believe it's part of who you are? Ease into dark corners, locked rooms, unexplored hallways. Gain entry, not by force or will, but only by softness. Enter on the wings of breath and turn the key of self-acceptance to let go of something, somewhere. Let's go ahead and just bring our hands to prayer. And, just sit for a moment, just noticing how are the energies that you carry? Is there tension? Is there stuff sitting below the surface that wants to be released, that wants to let go somehow? And the first thing to do is just simply acknowledge it. Don't judge it, just simply acknowledge it. Just take a moment to hold yourself in just the highest place of love and care. So your awareness steps out, several steps from where it normally is when you perceive yourself. And with that bigger awareness, just let your heart soften. Can you believe everything that you have experienced in your life and how you might be holding some of that in the tissue of the body? So with a great deal of this tenderness toward ourselves, we'll move through our practice tonight. So let's start on our hands and knees. So when you find your way to your hands and your knees, just gently start to move as you inhale, lift your gaze in your seat. Your exhale, round your back. So just find a pace that works for you. Keeping your breath full and observing what shows up along the way. One or two more rounds here. Feel free to let your breath move through your mouth if that feels like a better place. And settle into your neutral table position. Walk your hands forward. Let me get this blanket out here. Walk your hands forward and come into a low plank. And then sit back in a puppy pose. We're going to go back and forth between puppy and low plank. Now as you inhale, come forward back into that low plank. Round your back and tuck your chin until your shoulders get over the wrists. And then lift your gaze and look forward as you get a little deeper back bend there. And then sit the hips back again. And again, rounding into the back as the shoulders shift forward over the wrists, finding that low plank. Lifting your chin, lifting your gaze, looking forward, and then sitting back. And we'll do that a third time. So inhaling with that rounded back, coming forward into that low plank position. Gazing forward, lifting the chin, and sitting back. Back to that puppy pose. Come on up to table again. And then just take your left leg back behind you. Just take a little bird dog leg and push through that heel a little bit. And then bring the left knee forward. set your left foot on the floor and just come into just a kind of a low lunging position here with that left foot forward. Hands are just inside of the leg. Just feeling into it, giving yourself plenty of distance between your front foot and your back knee. And then lift it up and bring your left knee underneath you. Other side, so take your right leg back, a bird dog leg, toes pointing down. Nice and straight, kind of pushing up through the heel a little bit, and then bend the knee. Bring your right knee forward. Try not to touch the floor with your foot. And set your foot down, coming into that low lunge with the hands inside of your front foot. And just let yourself kind of settle into this for a moment. Make sure there's plenty of distance between that front foot and the back knee, so it might take a little adjusting, depending on how far forward that foot was able to move. All right, and then let's go ahead and bring right knee back underneath you. And let's come on up to down dog. So come on up. Give yourself some nice rooting through the heels there. Now, if your hands feel secure on your mat, take your weight to your right hand and take your left hand, and maybe you can reach back for your outer right shin with your left hand and look underneath your right arm. And release. Set your left hand down, take your right hand to the outside of your left leg, looking underneath your left arm. Just a little twisting down dog here. And release. Both hands back to the floor. Set your knees back down. Take your left leg back out behind you into a bird dog, and this time then take your right arm out in front. Pull your low belly in and up as you reach in opposite directions. And then set your right hand down, bring your left knee forward again and come back into that low lunging position. Just take your left foot now out to the left a little bit, turning the toes out and the heels on the mat. And maybe you can walk your hands a little bit further forward. So just coming a little deeper into those hips. Not a ton. We're not coming down to the forearms or anything like that, but we're just maybe feeling a little deeper into the hip flexors and the thigh, the back leg. And then walk your hands back in and bring your left knee underneath you. Take your right leg back into a bird dog leg, toes pointing down, and take your left arm out in front. So really give it a nice reach in both directions, pulling the belly in and up. And set your left hand down, bend your right knee, bring it forward. Try not to touch the floor as you take your foot out in front of you into a low lunge position. And once you get your foot up there, scoot it over to the right, turning the toes out and the heel in. And just find your way here for a moment. With the leg a little bit turned out and a little further out than it was the first time, you may find you have more room for your torso inside of the leg. And maybe you can walk your hands forward about, 8 inches or so. Just let yourself get a little bit deeper into the legs. If it feels a little unstable or it doesn't feel like a good, safe thing to do, walk your hands back in. You could even come up on the fingertips if that's a little bit better. And then walk the hands in. Bring your right knee underneath you. Come on up to down dog. Couple more times here, just rooting up and down in the heels. You could roll up and down on the feet. Opening up the calves and the backs of the legs a bit. Finding your pace. Now taking the weight to your left foot, lift your right leg, bend the knee, open up through the hip a little bit. Just keep your shoulders as square to the floor as you can as you're opening up that leg. And then go ahead and sweep that right foot forward. Find a high lunge this time, so back knee stays lifted. And then take your right hand to the inside of your right foot and spin your back heel down. And just reach your left arm right up alongside of the ear. So you're not coming into a side angle per se. Just give yourself a nice big reach through your left fingertips, pressing your left foot to the left. Bring the hands down to the floor, picking up your back heel, step to downward dog. And taking the weight to the right foot, lift your left leg, bend the knee. Open up through the hip a little bit. Nice and stable and sturdy with the shoulders. So trying not to collapse into the right shoulder as you're lifting that left leg. Pull the little belly in and up so you have some abdominal strength working with you. And then let's go ahead and bring the left foot forward. Find your lunge. And then take your left hand to the inside of your left foot, spin your back foot down, and just reach that right arm right alongside of the ear. It's just a slight turning open, but a big reach through your right fingertips, pushing your left foot to the left a little bit. Just a little, not quite side angle here. And then bring both hands back to the floor and step back to downward dog. Let's go ahead and walk the hands back to the feet. Take a forward fold at the back of the mat. Completely up to you, however much you want to bend your legs. I'm just going to take off a layer here. And bow forward. Legs can straighten if you're feeling up to it. Just let your head shake out a little bit. Let your breath be nice and full. And then bend your knees. Skeeter stance. Slide the hands up to the knees, sitting back through your seat a little bit. All right, and we're just going to roll a little bit forward and back on the feet. And so as you roll forward, see if you can kind of pick your heels up as you're taking the weight toward the balls of the feet. And then just hang out there, kind of glue yourself with your heels lifted. And see if you can come up, take the arms up alongside of the ears. You're still balancing on the balls of the feet. And then can you come all the way up to standing on the balls of the feet to balance? And then set your heels down and bring your arms down. Clasping your hands behind you, roll your shoulder heads back. Opening up through the chest a little bit. Oh, yes. Breathing. And bring your fingertips to your shoulder heads. And we're just going to twist a little bit. You don't have to do a active pranayama with this. We're just twisting. Just keep your breath alive, participating. And then release. Go ahead and come into forward fold again. Bowing toward the legs. Bend your knees. This time, bring your hands to prayer position as you lift yourself up a little bit. And we'll come to prayer twist here. So take your right elbow and hook it outside of your left leg. Just give yourself a little standing twist here. Rolling the shoulders back, still nice and even in your seat. Mindful to keep that right knee pulled back. And then release hands to the floor and straightening the legs to whatever extent they're going to go right now in a comfortable way for you and your body. And bending your knees again, bring your hands back to prayer. We'll go the other way. So left elbow outside of the right leg, hands to prayer. Make a little conscious effort to pull that left knee back as you're twisting to look to your right. Breathing. And then again, release hands to the floor. Straightening the legs to whatever extent works for you and your legs, your hamstrings, your back, the whole ball of wax. Now bend your knees, walk your hands forward to downward dog. And then we're going to sit in a child's pose. So set your knees wide, let your big toes touch. Go ahead and sit back. And just rest. Rest the elbows, rest the forearms. Just sit in your pose for a moment. And in the dark, behind your eyelids, just see if you can start to scan some of the darker textures. What do you see? What's going on? Is there anything sitting under the surface in your physical body? Or you might just observe it and have a look at it. See if you can just not judge whatever it is. Just let it be there. And maybe you ask this energy, whatever it is it serving me in some way? Has it fully gone through its cycle of service, whatever that was? And then maybe you just simply give it permission, like you're putting your hand on its little shoulder and saying, I give you permission to release and let go now. So you do it with such softness, such tenderness, with a full acceptance of its existence, and a sense of just awareness and self-love. All right, let's come back up now to table slowly here. Then again, we'll slide the hands forward and shift forward into that kind of low plank position. Now hug your knees in towards your midline, pull your low belly in and up, and see if you can lower your hips a little bit as you roll the shoulders back. So it's almost like you're coming toward an upward dog, but we're not lowering the belly and thighs to the floor. We're just taking a little back bend with knees down. You know, it's kind of like a super high cobra and a super low up dog. And then push your hips back. Back to a child's pose or a puppy pose. And set the elbows at your shoulder distance, bring your hands to prayer, and just drop your thumbs back behind your head. Now, rather than having the hands kind of in this prayer position, just take your hands and kind of make those spider hands, so you're pressing all the fingertips into one another and broaden your hands apart a little bit. So as if you're kind of doing like, here's the church, here's the steeple kind of thing. Only all the hands are kind of like, there's no steeple per se. We just have like two spiders or a spider on a mirror, right? All right, and then release. Bring the hands to the floor. Come back up to table, and let's come on back up to down dog. So please lift your right leg, bend the knee, open up through the hip again. Push your left hand forward and root your weight back. Maybe you can root down through your left heel a little bit more, keeping your shoulders parallel to the floor as best you can. And then on your exhale, let's go ahead and bring that right foot forward, find a lunge again. And this time, go ahead and spin the back foot down right away. We'll come up to kind of a classic side angle. So bringing the elbow on the thigh and the top arm alongside of the ear. Now go ahead and spin the left hand down to the floor and pick up your back heel. So you've got your lunge stance here, and then we'll bring it right up to crescent lunge. Taking the arms up, working a little more deeply in the legs, working with your balance here. And cross your arms over your head, just hold your elbows. See if you've got a little room to lean back a little bit. Try to keep your back leg pretty straight. Pull the low belly in and up. And then release, bring your hands down to the floor. Take the weight now to your left hand and twist and look to the right, taking your right arm up into a wingspan. Rolling the shoulders back. And release both hands to the floor. Step to down dog. Shifting the weight to your right foot, lift your left leg, bend the knee, open up through the hip, pushing your hands down and forward and maybe rooting down through your right heel. Do your best to keep your right shoulder nice and lifted. Breathing. Maybe the heel doesn't come anywhere near the floor. You know your body best. All right, on your exhale now, let's go ahead and bring the left foot forward. Finding your setup for side angle, so spin your back foot down, come on up, elbow on the thigh, right arm alongside of the ear, so find the classic shape of the pose. It's more comfortable to be up a little higher, don't you think? All right, now spinning the hands down to the floor. Go ahead and pick up your right heel and make sure you have some lateral distance between your feet. And then we'll come right up to crescent lunge. Arms up. Just finding the form of the pose. Cross your arms again and just do it the opposite direction so you have the opposite forearm on top if possible. And then pull the bottom tips of the shoulder blades toward one another and see if you've got a little bit of room to lean back, deepen into your front thigh, and push through your inner right heel. That's a lean back. If you prefer to be upright, just nice and vertical, that's fine too. And let's release hands to the floor. Taking your weight to your right hand, we'll twist and look to the left. Taking the left arm up, just finding your wingspan here. Still keeping the back knee lifted. Just feeling into those lunge legs. And bringing the hands down. Step back to downward dog. Let's shift forward and come into plank pose again. Set your knees down. Lower your hips down a little bit. Roll your shoulder heads back. And again, we're doing this kind of hybrid between a high cobra and a low up dog. Now, if this doesn't serve you, go ahead and just set your pelvis down and maybe walk the arms forward a little bit, right? If you're okay being up here, keep the knees lifted. Roll the shoulders back. And then lift up and find your way back to a downward facing dog. Just breathing with that. Now let's set the knees down on the floor. And slide your left leg back, spin the back heel down a little bit. And then angle your right foot out to the right. You're going to take all the weight onto your right hand and take your left arm up. There you go. Now we're going to shift a little bit further forward so we can lift up the left leg. So kind of scoot that right hand forward a little bit so you can take all the weight on that right hand, lifting that left leg. Take the top arm up. So essentially you're in Ardha Chandra on your knee. And then bend your left leg and take a hold of the left foot. Push the foot back into the hand, rolling the shoulders back, both of them. Getting a little thigh stretching back bend here. Keep the abdomen nice and strong. Can you bring your heel in a little closer to your bottom? Stretching the thigh a little bit more deeply. And then go ahead and release the foot. Set your left foot back on the floor and bring your hands down. Walk your hands around and over towards your left foot, spinning your right foot even further to the right. And then pick up the toes and come into a runner's lunge here. Coming over that left leg. Maybe you walk your hands forward as you're bowing over that leg, going deeper into your hamstring stretch. Just breathing. All right, and then walk your hands back in. Spin yourself back toward the short end of the mat, so you just start to move that right foot back in, spin it in. Set your left knee underneath you and come up to a down dog for a minute here. And shake your head out. Walk your hands back, come to forward fold at the back of the mat. Bend your knees, come up to skier pose, lifting the head. Take your hands into a clasp behind you, roll your shoulder heads back. And then bow forward, bringing your chest towards your thighs, lifting your arms up, and perhaps straightening the legs here with a little deeper shoulder stretch, a little deeper hamstring stretch. Don't try to force the head back. There's no forcing. There's no aggression here toward your body. Only a sense of approaching it all with softness, whatever seems to be there. So knees can be soft. Heart is definitely soft. Shoulders soft. And then bending the knees, start to let your hands drop behind you. Bring your hands down, walk them forward, and come down onto your knees. So now from here, you're going to slide your right leg back behind you and spin the heel down, taking the weight onto your left hand. And then the left foot's going to angle out to the left a little bit as you take your right arm up. So just finding this position for a moment. It's kind of like triangle pose down on your knee. And then you're going to take your left hand a little further out so you can take all the weight onto your left knee and take your right leg up parallel to the floor. So you're kind of in Ardha Chandra on the knee. Now can you bend your right leg and reach for the ankle or the foot and push your foot back into your hand as you come into a nice back bending thigh stretch here. And breathing. Can you bring the heel in a little closer to your body? You're the only one who knows the answer, and it's all good, whatever it is. And then release. Set the foot down, spin your top arm down, and then you're going to take a little journey. Walk your hands all the way around and over toward your right leg. Your left heel kind of spins over so that your back shin is parallel to your front shin. And then we'll come into runner's lunge over the right leg. Keeping the toes lifted and coming forward. Maybe the hands are walking out and forward as you come deeper into the pose. Engage the muscles in the front of your right leg as you're bowing toward that leg. I'm just breathing. All right, and then we'll release. Walk your hands in, we'll spin everything back the other direction. And then come to tabletop position, hands under the shoulders. And we're going to sit in Virasana, so just point your feet straight back. If you need something to sit on, you can grab yourself a folded blanket or a block. And if not, then we're just going to iron the calf muscles back a little bit and put the sitting bones just right inside of the heels and have a seat in Virasana. It's a nice deep bend of the knees. Again, if it doesn't work, then sit up on something. It can be even a block with a blanket on top. Sit for a moment. Feet pointing straight back as much as possible and having a sense of drawing that lower back in and up. So there's a little bit of a back bend going on. All right, now bring your hands back down to the floor. Take a down dog to get some circulation back into the knees after that. And then set your knees down. And you're going to turn yourself around and have a seat on your mat. Just bring your hands back behind you a little bit. Take your feet about as wide as your mat. And then try to keep your chest lifted a little bit as you take a little seated windshield wiper here. So just dropping the knees from side to side. Just rotate on your heels, keeping that little bit of lift up in the chest and not collapsing to round the back. And then back to center. So kind of dig your heels into the floor and then come forward and take your right hand to hold the outer edge of your left foot. Take your left hand right alongside of the hip and then tuck your chin and round your back as you push your foot into your hand. Getting a stretch underneath your right shoulder blade. And then continuing to hold the outer edge of your left foot, bring your chest forward and sit upright a little bit more. So can you lift your head, just sit taller, and then twist a little deeper. So maybe that left hand continues to support you as it walks behind you a little bit, and you take a little deeper twist. Pulling the low back in and up, try not to round the back here in the twist. And then release. And we'll switch hands. So take your left hand to the outside of your right foot, right hand alongside of the hip, and we'll start with that rounded back. So push your foot forward into your hand, tuck your chin, rounding into the back, getting a stretch under that left shoulder blade. Oh my goodness, yes. And then lifting up through the heart, sit taller in your spine. And then just see about twisting a little bit more to the right. Maybe that right hand walks behind you. Really work that right shoulder head back as you're twisting here, trying to keep your spine long. And then release the twist and come back to center. Now, we're going to balance on the sitting bones. So we're going to have to lean back a little bit, pick the feet up, and just support the back of the knees to come into kind of this approach to boat pose. Bring the feet together, press the inner edges of the feet into one another. You can keep a little space between the knees, but just find that sense of hugging your midline with the inner edges of the feet. Now, can you keep that and straighten the legs as you're pulling the low back in and up? And just taking the shape of a boat pose. We still have the little bit of support under the legs here, but we're trying to work on lengthening the spine. Now bend your knees again, shins parallel to the floor, and take the arms out. So just take your arms out parallel to the floor. Try to keep the low back drawn in and up. And then can you straighten the legs here without any rounding into the back? Pull in and up in your lower belly. And slowly bring the legs down and come to Dandasana. Just take the arms up and over your head. Then bring the hands down. Now we're going to bend the right leg and bring the sole of the right foot toward that inner left thigh. And take your weight then onto your right hand. We're going to come up onto the right knee, lift up, and reach the left arm alongside of the ear. So lift it up. Yes. Reach that left arm alongside of the ear as you lift your hips. And then release and sit yourself down. Now keeping the legs in this shape, turn yourself toward that left leg and come forward for Janu Shirshasana. Breathing. Your head goes wherever it goes. If it doesn't go to the leg, that's fine. You're just coming into a forward fold here. And then slowly come up to your seat. And we'll come back to Dandasana. So take the legs out in front of you. If you need to readjust your sitting bones, feel free to do that. Now take your hands into a clasp and push the palms up toward the ceiling. Try to be as perpendicular with your torso as you can be to your legs. And then release and bring the hands down. Now we'll bend the left leg. Take your left foot to your inner right thigh. And then we're going to shift forward, bring your hands forward, take the weight onto the left hand, lift the hips, and take the right arm alongside of the ear. Oh my goodness. Let's get a nice bit of a stretch here. And then release and slowly sit yourself back down. Keeping your legs in this shape, turn yourself towards your right leg and bring the hands down, and we'll walk the hands forward. You can hold on to your shin or your ankle. If you have a strap nearby and you'd prefer to do that, you can put a strap around your foot, or you just come forward for Janu Shirshasana here. To whatever extent your body will allow that to happen right now. Maybe you come down further. Maybe that's just not in the wheelhouse for tonight. So just find the place that feels best for you and your body. Slowly come on up. Back to Dandasana with the legs. And then we're going to walk the hands back behind again. Take your hands out pretty wide, bend your knees, and set your feet parallel and about your hip distance. We're going to come to reverse tabletop if your shoulders will have it. So you're going to pull those shoulder heads back. I don't need to have the hands back quite so far. And then we're going to press into the feet and lift the hips up. So see how it goes. If there's any part of you that says, yeah, not so much, then you might want to listen to that. And then go ahead and lower down. And then take your legs out into, I'll just face you for this, take your legs out into a wide V position. And we're going to go ahead and come forward into Upavishta Konasana. So this time with both legs straight, bringing the torso forward. You can take peace sign fingers around your big toes. Or you could walk the hands out in front of you, coming a little deeper into the forward fold, getting a deeper stretch for the hamstrings and inner thighs. All right, and walk your hands back in towards yourself. And then go ahead and cross your legs and we'll come to a seat. Okay. Now we're going to come down onto our backs and you're going to need a strap. Okay. So we're going to find our way into a nice gentle eye of the needle here. So go ahead and cross the right ankle over your left leg. Draw your left leg in toward yourself, however you want to do that. And try to be as relaxed about this as you can. You know, so often I'm barking some alignment instructions in your direction, and just let yourself be in it right now. Don't worry so much about, okay, I have to do this or that. Can you just let your body be here in the shape? See if you can relax everything and really just focus on where you're feeling the stretch. Even if you relax your feet, so often in hip openers, I'm always telling you, spread your toes, make your feet active. Well, what if you don't do that right now? And you just simply work with this and see where it shows up. Now, if it shows up in your knees, then by all means, activate your feet. But if you can just feel this in the right hip as you're taking this leg in closer to you here, then just be with it, hang out with it. Relax anything that shows up in your facial muscles that's trying to contribute. Again, you tap it on the shoulder. Ah, I see you there. Thanks for showing up. You can let go. Just breathing. Now we're going to slowly transition this position into Supta Padangusthasana with the right leg out to the right. So take your right hand out from behind your leg and take a hold of the outer edge of your right foot. If you have tighter hamstrings, you'll just hold on to the back of your right thigh. Okay, so hold whatever feels right to you. And then you're going to let go of your left leg and take your right leg out to the right. Just grounding your left thigh, holding either your right foot or the back of the right leg. And just finding this nice supine position. And then bringing the leg back to center. Go ahead and bend both knees again, and we'll set up for eye of the needle on the other side. So left ankle on top of the right knee. Draw your legs in. And just kind of easing into the outer form of the pose. Notice any automatic responses that your body has. Maybe you've got a lot of, again, some muscular energy that you naturally come to in the pose. And then can you let go of it? So it's really, it's a lot of effort for me to let go of my feet in a hip opening pose. And I'm finding when I do that actually my knees are perfectly fine. And I can just feel the stretch in my hip. Actually, I can focus on it even more. So just allowing whatever is showing up in that left hip. Trying to let go of any old habits, good or bad. Letting the yoga help you explore, go deeper in the layers of your being and explore what's there. Finding those little spots and knots and tension, and giving it permission because you see it, you're witnessing it. And again, sometimes that's all it takes. One or two more breaths here. All right, and then we'll start to transition into this Supta Pada on the other side. So take your left hand, hold either the back of the thigh or the outer foot, whatever works best for you, and then bring your right leg down as you take your left leg out to the left. Grounding your right thigh and just feeling this nice, so nice after a kind of a forward fold on your back with lots of flexion in the knees to really open up the legs. Lie back and enjoy the stretch. Appreciate the support of the floor underneath you. All right, and then we'll release, bend the legs, and set them back on the floor. So I'm going to use my bolster, vertically up the mat, and I'm just going to let the bolster be flat. Just take a moment to be sure that your shoulder blades are kind of tucked in and down underneath you. Just imagine while you're breathing here that the space around the heart is getting brighter with every inhale to illuminate any of those areas, those kind of stuck areas that we all have that just simply need to have the light shown on them. To have a hand, a compassionate hand, touch them on the shoulder and say, it's okay. Thanks for showing up. You can let go now. So just start to bring your awareness now back to your body. Take your time then to just slowly start to find your way to a seat. Great. I'm so grateful to be here doing these practices with you all. Om Shanti. Namaste.